I am, oops. Okay. I am a career coach and a life coach. And before I got into coaching, I was a marketing executive. I did that for 20 years. And over the course of that time, I went through burnout not once, but twice. And I'm a little embarrassed to tell you that it took my hair falling out right here, like in clumps, to really get my attention. And when that started, the physiological symptoms got so bad, I knew that I had to change. I had to make some big, big changes. And it was in 2016 that I hired my first coach. And after about, I don't know, it was maybe about 6 or 7 months of working with her, my life had just changed so dramatically that I asked her, I said, how do I become just like you? I was getting so much fulfillment from what was happening. And I was seeing my life change so much that I changed everything. Literally, I left my high paying job and I became a coach, and I work with women specifically in burnout. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm hopeful to be able to share information that's helpful for you today.
Thanks, Elsa. My name is Denise Mino, and Elsa and I were actually in the same business development and coaching course several years ago. And I looked her up recently, earlier this year actually, and I was at a point where I was stuck in my career and I wanted to do something different. And I had some things to resolve in my life, and I was like, hey, Elsa, I'm just reaching out to say hi, but I didn't realize I was like, oh, we're friends and I need support. So Elsa is actually my coach, and together we've made some great progress, and I feel like I'm in a really good place with my life and my career, and I continue to make advances. And I just feel this sense of relief in my life that I have someone supporting me through my challenges. I am a life and leadership coach, a consultant for organizations. I specialize in working with tribes, governments, nonprofits. I spent over 20 years as a public servant, and I currently teach part-time at the University of Washington, leadership development. So it's a program called the Certified Public Manager. And that's how Shannon Kelly Fong and I were connected. So Shannon was one of our students, and she looked me up and said, hey, do you want to do this thing? And so here we are. So thanks, Angie.
Okay, so we are going to start, and we wanted to talk to you all first, and we were hoping we'd be able to break you into breakout rooms. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that, unfortunately, so we're going to have to use, I think it's the Q&A little box that you see there at the bottom of your screen. But we would love to hear from you all in the audience. What do you think the signs of burnout are? We're going to go ahead and tell you later what some of the things are that we've seen, but we're interested. What is your opinion? What are your thoughts? What does burnout look like? Hey, Julie. Okay. All right. So Julie says, I feel bitchy. Well, maybe I won't call out your names. Another person said decreased motivation and excitement for the work. Yep. Next, lack of motivation to do things that typically brought joy. Fatigue, irritability, tired and slow to respond. Thank you. All very good. Wanting to take more vacations. Yep. I bet a lot of us are really excited for the holiday break coming up. We get 2 weeks off for many of us. Lack of motivation, anxiety, loss of sleep. Snapping at family after work. Giving family the leftovers. Yep, I hear that one big time. Shutting down emotionally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else? These are awesome. You guys seem to know your stuff. Feeling just going through the motions, brain fog, not celebrating accomplishments. That's a big one. taking things personally or feeling like performance is tied to self-worth. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Crying,
noticing
emotional.
some patterns here too, Elsa, that there's some similar themes running through these responses, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, heightened emotions, like a lot of them, very good.
Very much
Oh,
so.
they're
Um,
disappearing. What's happening to them?
yeah, so I think that we just have to go over to the dismissed. Do you see him
Oh,
over there?
yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I can go ahead and tell you what I see. No, this isn't a clinical example. Denise, am I correct that we can't do the breakout rooms?
Yeah, I'm not seeing where we can.
That
So,
is correct. There is a limitation
oh,
right now.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Big friends.
Um, well, yeah, so a lot of you are understanding. Maybe you haven't even worked with a therapist or a coach, but you just have a sense of what this is. The way I define burnout when I start to work with people, it's exhaustion mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Like the rock, like the turnip has been like twisted and turned so much that there's literally nothing left to give. Someone talked about emotions. I'm feeling just more emotional, like it's just kind of brimming. We definitely see that. And I would describe it kind of like an inability to cope with the demands of your life. And that can be at work, that can be at home. There's definitely a sense of detachment from our work. One of my clients, she was a very senior level partner in her law firm. And when she came to me, she said, I want to burn down my career. I don't want to do this anymore. I come home from work. I put on my soft clothes, is what she would call it. It was like this like sweatsuit that she would put on. And she's like, I sit in front of my TV and I zone out and I numb out. And it's the only way I can cope. So that's and I'm not saying it has to look exactly like that, but there's an inability to cope with the daily demands, that feeling of detachment. And then there can be a whole host of physiological symptoms. I shared with you all that my hair started to fall out a little bit later. Angie's going to tell you her story. So it might look a little different from all of us, but we know what our bodies feel like when we're strong and healthy. When we are in burnout, our bodies do not feel strong and healthy. And what I've come to find is that our bodies are constantly communicating with us. They're constantly letting us know this is okay, this is not okay. So as we continue to explore this, you're going to hopefully get a better sense of what's happening for you internally, or maybe this isn't happening to you right now, but someone that you love and care about is dealing with this. And oh, by the way, Angie told us yesterday the reason we wanted to have this talk in the month of December is because this time is very overwhelming for many of us women. And Angie put it so beautifully. How did you say it, Angie, yesterday?
Yeah, we're kind of responsible for the emotional labor of the holidays.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, how many of you in the Q&A, how many of you is that true? Like that's a true statement. Like we're in charge. It just adds like if we're already kind of teetering on the cusp, it's like the holidays are the things that can just like flip you right over the edge. Okay, I'm seeing right on. True, 100%. 100% true. And today is December the 5th. We've got 3 weeks until the holidays. I have clients coming into session with me this week and they're saying, I'm so anxious. I only have a few more weeks. I don't have my tree up. I haven't bought a present yet. I'm feeling disconnected at work. I just want to like crumple into a ball and not do anything. So this is very real. This is very, very real.
Yeah. I don't think it's a huge surprise that there's a lot of stress around this time of year, especially for women, regardless of whether or not you have families. It's just a burden of stress. I know we talked about sharing personal stories, and I do have one. And it at my last stop, I was working like multiple weekends in a row, late nights, and even though I was a part of a team, I found myself doing the majority of the work. And I kept asking for support, and I didn't really have a supervisor who was really willing to do that. And I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well. But for me, my turning point was I was working out. I've historically always been an athlete 6 times a week, and I could not like lose weight. Like I just was getting pudgy in all of these places. And so I went to see my doctor about my hormones. And my cortisol, which is your stress hormone, was 3 times the normal amount on just a random Tuesday morning. And, we had a really long conversation. I was like, I can't keep down food, but like I'm working out all the time. Like, why am I holding like water weight and all this other things? And she was like, you need to cut down your stress. Like all these late nights working, all these arguments with your boss, with your team, like it needs to be done and over with. And so I actually took a month off from work. It was a mix of vacation and sick leave. And I'd been planning it for like a long time. I was like, okay, like I know just a couple days is not going to solve the problem. I need a prolonged period of time away from the chaos, the bullying, so I can just kind of get myself right. So I took a month off, and that's actually when I started my cohort with the Northwest Women's Leadership Academy. Ironically enough, was like at the almost at the end of my month off, and I am really grateful for that. I actually did not have the support of my direct supervisor. I had to go to our city manager, who luckily looked at me and he told me, he's like, I know how much work you do. You absolutely have earned this month off. Take it. Don't worry about HR. Don't worry about your boss. You're going to take that month off. And I'm so grateful he let me do that, because I came back, I did my Northwest Women's Leadership Academy. I was in much better headspace. And then I was able to get the job that I currently have because I could kind of figure out where I wanted to be again. Like I felt like I had a future, whereas before I just thought this is literally going to be my entire life, is this bullying, like psychotic place that I'm at.
Thanks for that, Angie. That like, so for me, like I see so many things in your story and Elsa's story, for things I've gone through myself. I had chronic fatigue undiagnosed for the longest time. I also went through adrenal fatigue, which if you can just imagine waking up each morning and not having that renewed sense of energy. And this went on for weeks and months. And I had 5 children at home, full-time job. And I was like, what is happening to me? So those signs and symptoms, like if I would have just stopped and paid attention to my body, probably a long time before that, I probably would have caught on that I was burning myself out. But yeah, these things are very real, but also I think there's some societal conditioning that I'm sure you'll all identify with, the expectations that we will do everything, right? And I'm a product of the 70s, right? And they have that Angelique commercial. I don't know if those of you my age maybe think of, it's like, I'll bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, right? Like I'll do everything and I'll take care of the kids, right? On top of all that. So I think the expectation for those of us that are in the workplace, and oftentimes too as women, we come to the table and we're having to prove ourselves more than maybe our male counterparts have to, right? Try twice as hard. Right? We're always trying to, we have that competitive edge already, most of us probably on this call, but there's something more that we have to like show that we can do the job well or at this higher level. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Denise, for that. So we don't want to leave you just in the problem of burnout. You all came to this lunch and learn because you probably want to get some relief. You want to understand, well, what can I do to try to help this? Is there anything that I can start thinking about? So we've identified it's exhaustion, a lack of engagement. You might be having physical symptoms. There's a whole host of things. Every one of us could stand up here and say, we've got burnout, and we could look completely different. The tie that will bind us is probably some degree of exhaustion. In Angie's story and in Denise's story and in mine, that was the thread that ties us all together. Okay, so how do we start to reverse this? Right? Do you girls want to talk about that? Yeah, let's talk about that. And I encourage you to put, whatever your thoughts are. Yes, please. Thank you, Julie. We see all your comments here. So I'll start, and then Denise, you can certainly pipe in. So this is what I do. Like, this is my specialty. I work with women in burnout. And what I created were 5 personas to kind of help me understand the patterns that many of us fall into. I don't have time to go into all the patterns and personas, but I will tell you that there is one that really stands out, and there's one that comes right behind it. So I'll tell you both of them. The first one, I call it the workhorse. And the workhorse is someone who is constantly saying yes, even when she means no. She has a compulsion to just do and achieve. She's got this like massive inner achiever. And even though she's got a lot of things on her plate, she just keeps on taking more. And there's lots of benefits to this pattern, right? Like she might get a lot of raises and a lot of recognition and accolades and all the things. But there is a high price that that person pays. And we don't have time to get into all of that, but if you can, yes, workhorse, yes, I feel that. And I still have a tendency to go into workhorse. I bet Angie and Denise, do you guys, is that either one of you? And it might be seasonal, right? Angie, I see you nodding your head.
I like to joke that I could be a one-woman show. I shouldn't be, but sometimes it feels like that.
Yeah. And Denise, you too, right?
Totally, yes. And so here's the thing though, Elsa, as you're bringing that up, then I'm like, I feel so guilty. Now I feel guilty. You've identified me, you called me out. Like, and then so it's like layers of conditioning, right? That I'm like, no, this is part of my personality. I'm a high achiever. I should not feel guilty or ashamed, but also what's scalable for me, like I do need to scale it back, right? So yeah, those are my thoughts.
100%. 100%. And the encouragement I want to offer to you all, no matter what your burnout pattern is, that is essential. Like we can go through a litany of things like, hey, get more rest, set an alarm clock at 9 p.m. Like there's all these like very practical things you could do, and those are important. But if you do not get at the root of what is driving the burnout, it is very possible you will end up like me, that I went through once and I thought, oh, this is an executive position, lots of visibility. Let me just take a little sabbatical. I'll go like sit by the pool for a couple of months and then I'll come back as a director, right? Like not a senior level, but maybe, just maybe I won't fall into those same, like I won't get the same result. Nope. Like within a year, it was the same damn thing all over again because I never addressed the root of the pattern. And that is the power of what we're talking about here. Understanding the compulsion. Like Denise was saying, there's lots of layers underneath it. It could be societal conditioning. It could be, I want to feel worthy. For me, one of the things that I found in myself is for a very long time, I'm ashamed to admit it, I had a scarcity mindset. And because I had a scarcity mindset, my solution was making a lot of money. And how did I make a lot of money? Well, I worked my butt off and got promoted and said yes and was very visible. But until I addressed the scarcity that I was facing, I couldn't get myself out of that pattern. Okay. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. People pleaser. Yeah, I see that a lot. Julie, that's another one of the sub patterns that I work with people. Like, I just want to be liked. And I'm not trying to like undermine that because I have a people pleaser in me too. Like, we want people to like us. We want to say yes. And then when we say that yes, and then we kind of cringe on the outside or on the inside, I should say, it's really hard. Denise, do you have anything else to add to this as far as strategies for prevention?
Well, it was more about like identifying where we're at. And
Yeah.
As I was preparing for the call today, I was remembering in 2016, I had a major head injury and I had a concussion. I ended up getting being on bed rest for over a year and a half and went on long-term disability, ended up losing my job with the state, and then also was on unemployment. So long-term disability plus unemployment equaled my normal rate of pay. I was in IT at the time in software development. And still I was panicking, still not well mentally. I was panicking that we weren't going to make all our bills. And so I went and talked to the people at the local Mexican restaurant and said, hey, can I waitress? Here I am, like, not well, should be at home, shouldn't be driving, should be recovering from my head injury. And there I am trying to still hustle and figure out how to make things work. Like, and there was no reason why I needed to do that other than I couldn't do numbers. I have now dyscalculia because of the head injury. I couldn't figure out numbers. And it, you know, I just was like, go, 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 even though I was not well enough to go. So it was just one more example of how I felt like I had to carry it all for the family. And that if I was in bed, you know, our whole family would not stay afloat, that like we'd lose our house or something, but that wasn't the reality. So.
Okay. I have a couple more things that I can talk about. So obviously I shared about the broader strokes of just understanding the pattern, but there's some things that you could do maybe just coming out of the session that might help you feel a little bit more in control. The very first thing is to just acknowledge and validate the feelings that you're having. A lot of times when people are in burnout, it's kind of a quiet, it's like a silent situation. I mean, you might have some trusted people that you can kind of vent to, but for the most part, burnout tends to create isolation. So finding someone that you trust, whether that is your spouse or your partner, whoever that might be, maybe it's a trusted girlfriend, a mentor, to just give it some, like, release the pressure from the pressure cooker and allow your feelings to get validated. That's so, so important. Seeking professional help is obviously really important. I'm a coach. Um, so there's all kinds of coaching modalities, but this is the one that I specifically specialize in is in burnout for career women. Denise, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about EAP. Is that right?
Yes. So I switched careers to HR, went back to school after my head injury, and actually was in the University of Washington's certified public manager program that I now teach in, and that Shannon was part of. And there was this part about HR that really sparked my interest, and so that's the career path that I switched to. And in HR, I learned about EAP. So are most of you familiar with EAP, Employee Assistance Program? Hopefully your employers have this, but it's a benefit that you can use if you are in a situation where life feels overwhelming, you're maybe not seeking long-term counseling, or maybe you are, but for now, you need something to help get you through. So even though I was in HR a few years ago, I experienced something, and HR sometimes can mandatory send people to EAP if they know, like, hey, you really need to get some support. We're going to send you to EAP. So it's counseling services, typically 3 appointments over a period of maybe a couple months. And I told my boss, I'm like, I'm going through my divorce. My son at the time, one of my sons was actively suicidal, and some other things were going on. I was like, I cannot handle life right now. I just don't even know what to do. And she said, we're going to refer you to EAP, and I'm going to encourage you to reach out to them. So I did, and I took advantage of those 3 appointments, and the counselor helped me strategize, triage my life, and strategize on how I can move forward. Reminded me what I had control over in my life and what I didn't have control over, and then different ways of finding long-term support for myself and my son. So I highly recommend it if you need it. It is a benefit that's there for employees to use. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. And then of course, therapy is another modality that people can consider, which is very powerful. At one point, I had a mix of therapy and coaching, which I found really beneficial. We also like to talk about boundaries when we're talking about recovering from burnout. That's a really big one. typically that's one of the, once a pattern is identified, when I start working with someone, that's the very next thing is we've got to figure out where is there a boundary that needs to be put in place. And there's a reason you haven't put it there. So let's talk about it. Because typically we have a sense. Like when you guys were writing in the Q&A, someone said, I'm a people pleaser. I say yes when I really mean no. I'm taking on too much work. You guys identified with the workhorse pattern. I think I saw somewhere in the chat or in the Q&A that this group tends to be very achievement oriented. So we kind of have a sense. We kind of have a sense where the boundary is needed. What's more important is to ask ourselves, well, why? Why aren't we doing it? And seeking the support from a paid person, a professional, or working with your community. Maybe it's a spiritual community to start having those conversations. And something that I personally recommend to almost every single person that I work with, it's a meditation practice. It's called Yoga Nidra. And if I had the chat, I would type it in there for you. Yoga, which is like yoga that you practice maybe in your local gym, and Nidra, Nidra. This is a meditation that is practiced lying down. You put on your little headphones and you can look it up on YouTube. There's tons of free options out there. And what happens, it's a guided meditation that has your brain turn off and your body get into a deep state of rest. So because burnout usually comes with a lot of exhaustion, that is a fantastic tool that's essentially free. You just have to have the discipline to say, okay, I'm going to do this. And when you come out of it, when I do it, and I still practice it all the time, almost every day, I feel like I just went to the spa. I'm like, oh my gosh, that feels really good. I'm even trying to teach my children how to do it. I have a 14 and a 10-year-old so that they have a tool in their toolkit that they can use when life gets overwhelming. And then the last thing here on our list is really like focusing on compassion and extending grace to yourself. And I know that's easier said than done. It really is, because if you could have already done it, you may have already, like you would have already done it. That's why having accountability, some community, some support around you is really important.
Yeah, I kind of want to hop in here, and everybody's recovery journey is going to look a little bit different. My like vacation or whatever was a little over a year ago, but my process to try to get myself out of this hole started before that. So I hired a personal trainer. I wanted to feel strong and confident in myself again. I went to Japan during my month off, and because I wanted people to not be able to bother me, I had a girls' trip. It was awesome. Highly recommend. And then I started to talk to a therapist again about what I was experiencing in the workplace. And I found her outside perspective really helpful, because it was kind of nice to have a third party just hear what's happening and validate like why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. And I started to think about like, who am I outside of my job? And who do I want to be outside of my job, and putting kind of energy into that. So like my journey is still continuing. I'm now trying to work on getting certified to teach dance fitness classes, because I find that such a good like release of my anger and irritation that I experience in the workplace every day. And I'm looking forward to kind of trying and learning new things as I continue to define myself outside of my job. But I can't undermine, like, for me, how important my friends, my therapist, really were to me becoming more, I guess, myself again, because I really did feel like I lost who I was. And all I could think about was like, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? And how come I can't just handle it?
Yeah. And look at you now, Angie.
Trying.
So Angie, I went to Mixed Fit last night, and that's my like
I
where
love
I
Mixed
really
Fit.
like work it out. It's Wednesday nights at the community center. But it helps, right? It's just like that physical release, finding places where there's like sisterhood, and there's, I'm a plus size person. And when I get out there and shake it, I don't want to have to like, is anybody watching me? So I go where I feel comfortable, and I do go to the gym too from time to time. And when I'm just lifting those heavy weights, I'm like, for all these people out there. Yeah, it helps. So I just want to check in with our folks who are on the call. Is this resonating with you? Are you finding this validating in some way? If you want to just drop things in the chat, there's some things. Are you're feeling it? Just want to make sure we're vibing with you. It's kind of a different experience on a webinar, right? And even though we're a smaller group, still we're not able to see you. So
Yeah, looks like you guys are liking it. Okay, good. Do you all see that? The same thing I'm seeing?
yeah, yep. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. Good. Yeah, so let's talk about preventing burnout. I've got a few thoughts, but Elsa, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah. So preventing burnout, it's kind of a tricky situation. Like we've already said, the boundaries are so important. It's really a crucial first step. Like I said, identifying that pattern that you're locked up into, but having boundaries in place often requires us to have a degree of courage that maybe we haven't had before, because having a boundary requires you to use your voice. Like you have to speak them into existence, right? And if you've worked in a culture that expects you to show up in a certain way, or in your household, you've like put on a certain hat that represents a certain role, to all of a sudden like address or announce one day, like, hey, this is the new boundary and this is how I'm going to show up. I almost guarantee that you're going to get a degree of pushback. But what I tell the people I help is that we are constantly teaching people how to treat us. Each and every one of us, we are teaching the people around us how to treat us. So this is where the courage comes in. This is where digging deep comes in. This is where we have to find a way to feel some uncomfortable emotions. And this isn't necessarily easy if we're already dealing with exhaustion. If we're dealing with exhaustion, we just want to go to bed. We want to scroll. We want to numb out. We want to do things that take us out of the. But I'm telling you, the numbing out, and listen, we all do it from time to time, but if that is your chief coping mechanism, I promise you, if you continue doing that, it will ultimately lead to more pain. I can guarantee it. It will ultimately lead to more pain. So, what I tell people, do you want to choose the pain of long term that's going to come over here? Or do you want to choose the pain for now? Like Angie told us, she had to make a decision. She had to use her voice. She had to take that space for herself. She had to retrain her environment around her. And it sounded like you had some support, right, Angie? Like they
Yeah.
were mostly good.
Yeah, I mean, my direct supervisor wasn't super supportful, whatever, if that, who knows if that's the right word, who cares? But my city manager and the deputy city manager, Gwen, actually, who's part of this group as well, were so great about being like, yes, like start saying no, start taking care of yourself, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm really happy because my current stop has been really good about my direct supervisor is a woman, and she's just like, you need to take time for yourself. Like she told me to barely work tomorrow, and I was like, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. But you had to have courage to have those conversations,
Yeah.
right? Like it required something in you.
Yeah, and I mean, people feel differently about how open you want to be, but for me, I'm like, I have no shame in admitting that I'm struggling, suffering physically, mentally. I need a therapist because I don't think that's something to be ashamed of. And so I have and still have very honest conversations with my past supervisors and even my current supervisor about just like what I need to be successful and how they can support me in doing that.
Mhm. Very good.
That
Very good.
reminds me of something in this whole conversation, that it takes vulnerability to admit where we are. It takes vulnerability, like to admit to ourselves is one thing, right? To admit to a spouse or a loved one, a family member. But I can tell you, and so I'm from Hawaii originally. In my culture, like everything is for everybody else. You don't really like you lose yourself in the service of others. That's culturally ingrained. And also I have Asian descent too. So like that's very much, it's for the greater good, right? We work for the greater good. And so those cultural imprints and expectations also carry forth in how we do this. And so to admit, like, I'm in a place where I don't feel I'm, mentally healthy. And then to be able to say that out loud, and then like to tell my parents, I need you to help me because I'm, can you please take the kids this evening because I just need mental space, right? Even asking for that kind of help takes courage and vulnerability. And then to, especially where for some of us, like we don't want our private lives discussed at work because, sometimes they go to HR and have conversations about people like, well, so-and-so came to me, what should I tell them, right? And you're like, I don't want to be the topic of HR conversations, but also they're there to support us too. So, and if we don't say something, then I think in the end, the consequences will be harsher. So I just wanted to acknowledge the vulnerability and the courage in that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful, Denise. I think that's a huge takeaway. I invite you all, if there's one thing you take from this conversation, it's what Denise just said, courage and vulnerability. Those are the starting points for real change. And to be able to be courageous requires a degree of vulnerability. So if you can find the power within yourself to access that place in you today, find the courage to do it. Find the vulnerability, find the courage. Okay, so let's talk about some more practical strategies. That's a real big thing. Like that's really swimming into the deep end of the pool. If you want to do something, just one tiny thing, maybe this week, here are some ideas. Like the girls were talking about. Go to your local fitness center, go do a yoga class, go take a walk outside. I live somewhere that's 28 degrees, so don't go do that right now out here. But if you live somewhere where it's temperate and it's nice, connect with nature. Nature is one of the best sources of medicine for many of us, unless, of course, you have some kind of allergy or situation. It's kind of like connecting deeply to a part of ourselves that doesn't get plugged in like that. Finding the time during your workday to be able to eat, making sure you eat and eat at a regular time. Like this is the time from what you're here. It's 12 o'clock. Well, for many of us, it's 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. That is when I'm going to take my break. Or if you don't get an hour, 12 to 12:30, this is my time to take care of myself. This is the one boundary I'm going to exact. I'm going to nourish my body, and maybe I'll go look out the window and see a tree or something. You can start setting some realistic goals. If a lot of us are high achievers, I know back in those days when I was dealing with burnout, you should have seen my to-do list, y'all. It was like miles long, and I would get such a high off of like check, check, check. Like I am such a, well, I won't use that bad word, but I just thought I was like the coolest. I was the coolest because at that point, I guess I was in my 30s and I could run circles around the junior executives. And it made me feel so good. But guess what? That was one of the examples of the pain that I was paying, I was engaging in, that was creating more pain down in the future. So creating some realistic expectations when you start your day. And what I tell my clients is pick two things that are going to happen today. These are the two most important things. If these two things happen, check. It's been a good day. I don't want to see to-do lists that have 10 things on them. I don't care if your Christmas cards go out this season. You know what I mean? Like really setting realistic expectations. Did anyone kind of just like shift in their chair hearing me say, don't send out your Christmas cards? I hope you did. Denise, do you want to share with the ladies some of the other prevention strategies?
Sure. For myself, I have some friends from high school. We get together once a year at Christmas time and we decorate Christmas wreaths. And we've been doing this for 24 years. And as busy as I get, so I work 3 part-time jobs and sometimes a fourth job. So it can feel like a lot, and sometimes I'm working 7 days a week. I work mostly for myself now, doing contract work and trainings, and that I can switch to imbalanced really quickly. So reminding myself to take the time to be with friends. Also, I love making bows. So part of my fun is being the bow maker for my friend group. Every year they're like, you gotta make our bows, get the wired ribbon, and it just makes me feel creative. And then I'm in a different space. I'm not in that stress space. I'm in this creative space, right? And then also like realizing too, when I'm in my lower hemisphere, if I'm in my amygdala, right, it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which, for some of us, I'll speak for myself, going through a lot of childhood trauma, I often spend a lot of my time in survival mode. So retraining myself to be present and to not ruminate on the past, right, that leads to depression, and not try to control or look too far forward to the future, which is anxiety, but working to be present. So I'd like to invite us to do a somatic exercise. So connecting breath, mind, body, and spirit, if you'd like to join me. So I use a lot of trauma-informed practices in my work. I use the language of invitation. So I invite you to participate if you feel comfortable. And if you don't, that's fine too. If you'd like to continue to do this with us, you want to place your feet flat on the floor and one hand on your heart. Again, if you're comfortable, placing your hand on your heart. And if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. And this is kind of a de-stress, a quick way to de-stress you can do in your office or even on a Zoom call. I was really amped up on a Zoom call a couple weeks ago, and I was just doing my breathing exercises. I was like, in through the nose, slow release out through the mouth. So you want to close your eyes and just breathe in through the nose and then slowly out through the mouth. And by slowing our breath down, it helps slow the mind down. So in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. And often during our day, we're thinking, we're using our brain a lot. So I want you to bring your awareness down to your heart space. So again, in through the nose. And this time, drop your awareness to your heart. And think about your heart and all the things your heart does for you. Maybe send your heart a little love and thank it for keeping all the blood pumping. And there's the Heart Math Institute also showed scientifically that the heart also has a thinking function. So it has its own kind of brain function. Deep breath in and relax. Just being very intentional. And then I invite you to kind of wiggle around and feel where you might be holding some stress in your body. For me, it's the low back. Ooh. So breathe some love into that space, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And just wiggle and bring your awareness, and maybe it's your shoulders that are tight. So breathe in the love and exhale. And I want you to think about all the things your body does. Our legs take us places. We walk, our feet hold us up, right? Our hips ensure that we're standing tall. We can bend and reach and do other things. Our mind, our eyes, Just having gratitude for our bodies. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Thanking ourselves for continuing to show up and do all the things that we do. Maybe there's not a big fan club thanking us, but we can love on ourselves and thank ourselves. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And in this moment, I want you to do a quick visualization. What does it look like when you're happy and healthy and you feel grounded, you feel strong, you feel like you're in your power? See in your mind's eye that version of you. Maybe a smile on your face, maybe you're doing a particular activity. Maybe you're surrounded by your loved ones. What does joy look like to you? See that version of you that is happy, that is content. The world is on your side. Things are working in your favor. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And I want you to feel that sense of joy in your heart. Really feel what that feels like, and even drop that down even further into your gut. Gosh, that feels good when I am in a place of contentment, in a space where I feel like, life is cooperating. Sure, there's roadblocks, but I find workarounds. I see things as challenges to overcome rather than obstacles stopping me. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Thank you for this time. I invite you just to slowly bring your awareness back to the room. If you're comfortable, open your eyes. Thank you for that. How was that for folks? How are you feeling in this moment? You want to just, Julie, I'll make your bow. No problem. Make sure it's wired ribbon though. That's all. My only requirement. And glittered ribbon makes a mess, but I love it. All right. So how are you feeling? Angie, Elsa, how are you feeling?
I
Thanks for
feel
doing
pretty
it.
good.
Yeah.
Julie says she feels chill on here. I feel great.
I sometimes forget, I have pretty bad anxiety, even like when everything is
Mhm.
okay. So I try to remind myself to kind of slow down and slow my thoughts and breathe a little bit and, not constantly be on the go. So I think that was really beneficial.
Ah,
Thank you.
thank you, Denise. You have a gift. I think we're going to take some questions here in a minute. But before we do that, I wanted to just share something about myself, an offer that I'd like to extend to each and every one of you. So my hope is that you have seen something from this training from either me or Angie or Denise that you will take as actionable, because when you come and spend time in a setting like this, you want to make it worth your time. Okay? So the first thing, figure out what that one thing is. What action are you going to take coming out of this? Are you going to say something to a friend? Are you going to start having people treat you differently because you're going to find this courage and vulnerability to start speaking out? Are you going to go to a fitness class? Are you going to go to the local bow making wreath place that Denise was talking about? Whatever, but have that in your head. And what I would love to offer each and every one of you is, if you've seen something for yourself here and you know that burnout is a problem and you're willing to step into solution, that you're sick and tired of dealing with the pain of it, the exhaustion of it, it is my gift to each and every one of you to experience a coaching conversation with me. This is a one-on-one conversation that you get to come and experience with me. And what that looks like is we will meet on a Zoom just like this, and you will bring to that conversation a burnout pattern that you are dealing with. And if you are not clear on your burnout pattern, that's okay. I will help you figure that out. And then together we will create a personalized roadmap for you so that in this month in December and moving into 2025, you can create some real momentum for change for yourself. So we do have a board with a little link that you can find, and you can book some time with me. Again, that is my gift to you, and I'd love to support you.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. We are going to answer questions, but in case anybody has to leave a little bit early, I wanted to go over a few things. One, hopefully you've been able to learn something either about yourself or tactics that you can use should you end up feeling really burned out, or at least recognize the signs. You know, if you're not sleeping well, if you're experiencing other health issues and you know that your job is stressing you out, you know, maybe you're nearing a phase of burnout, and hopefully you've got some ideas for how you can phase some of that out or deal with that. But our next Lunch and Learn is January 8th, and that's going to be with Oak Harbor City Manager Sabrina Combs. She was actually my small group leader, so love her. And that's called Check This. Find your confidence in what others think are your deficits. So more information will be shared on our LinkedIn channel about that Lunch and Learn, but just wanted to give that information to you in case that's something that might interest you. If you guys have questions, you can certainly put them in the Q&A field and we can do our best to answer them. And yeah, well, I hope you guys took something valuable from this. Thank you guys for joining us.
I just wanted to throw out there, somebody said thank you, and then I copied and pasted our contact information there. So because we're using the webinar feature, it was unclear how we were to share this information. Prince, maybe there's a way we can email it out afterwards for the attendees.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we get this information sent out in an email along with our follow-up survey.
Okay. One last thing I wanted to throw out there, you know, with my head injury, even though I'm 8 years out, I still have a lot of, it's not a lot, but I still have some cognitive limitations. Also non-neurotypical. So I need things in a certain way. So when I'm part of a team, I can create a boundary by saying, hey, I see that this is the expectation for the workflow. And at the same time, you know, I've shared that I've had a head injury and my brain doesn't always think in the same way because of my wiring. So I'm asking if I could do it in a way that's logical to me. So I create my own process that I know works for me, because not everybody understands how my brain is wired. And the same thing goes like when I'm supporting my kids who are on the spectrum. I have 2 sons who are, all my kids have ADHD, and so do I. And I self-diagnosed based on some Instagram videos that I'm probably on the spectrum. Just kidding. But being able to support my kids too in vocalizing what their needs are, since they're at a point where like I'm not there with them at work. They're, you know, I help them with their IEPs and things like that through life, but now they're young adults. So being able to voice your needs, I think that's another thing that could be helpful.
Yeah. Does anybody have other questions that might still be in the room? Thoughts, concerns? It feels so weird not to have people talking at me when I do that. I used to be a teacher, if anybody like, and I would just have teenagers, you know, I'm like, one at a time.
So I would like to offer to my services. So I do trainings, anything related to leadership development, emotional intelligence for organizations. So if your organization has a need for that, outside of teaching that at the University of Washington, I also do diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging training. And at UW, we are creating a DEI be in organizations certificate program that's launching in March. If anyone's interested in that, that's through UW Tacoma in the Professional Development Center, part of Continuum College. So. All right.
And thank you for
Well,
all of
looks
the
like-
kind messages that you all are leaving us here.
Yeah.
It was just such a privilege and an honor to be with you, Angie and Denise, and to speak into the lives of the women here. It's really been special. Thank you.
Thank you guys. I feel like I learned a lot too. And I'm like, man, I wish I'd had this like 2 years ago when I was starting to exhibit my own symptoms. So
Yeah, when did that happen for you, Angie? How long ago was your burnout?
yeah, it really did start about 2 years ago. But I didn't end up taking my time off until maybe a year after I started exhibiting my symptoms. And I do blame myself a little bit for that because I was like, oh, it's going to be so inconvenient if I'm gone for a long period of time because nobody else is going to do this work. And that was something that I had a supervisor tell me, well, who's going to do all the work? And I told him, well, that's the problem. It can't just be me anymore, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I'd done it sooner, but a lesson that I take away from that experience.
Yeah, I mean that's the part of the courage and the vulnerability. You did it.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Any more questions? I see there's still a few folks on. Anything else you want to have us touch on? Or if there's maybe a topic that we mentioned that maybe you want to bring us back to cover, either Elsa individually or me individually. Just throwing that out there. Just volunteering you, Elsa, you know.
Oh, I'm happy to stay on. Yeah. Is everyone in the state of Washington on this call, or is this are there regional attendees as well?
It should be Washington.
The majority are from Washington. We do have, we have posted on LinkedIn. So some people who have caught our LinkedIn from various areas also have logged on in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same now.
Okay. Fantastic. And thank you, Brent, for all of your help getting us set up and helping us get the flyer out and all the many ways you've been able to help us.
Absolutely. And I will go ahead and follow up as well. Make sure we send your contact information, the link for people who want to schedule an appointment with your complimentary consulting, and
you so
our follow-up
much.
survey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you could, do you mind pausing the recording?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'll go ahead and pause the
Thank you.
recording.
Thank you.